Hey y'all, it's me, Kevvie. So I'm back with some more Pride readings for y'all. Today I'm going to read from my favorite book of the year, Fierce Femmes and Notorious Liars by Cheng Thom. This is a beautiful story, a fictional memoir about a trans woman who becomes part of an all-trans gang getting back at the men who hurt them. Oh, it's wonderful. It's magical. And yeah, I'm going to read 3 small passages for you. The first is a poem titled Song of the Pocket Knife, Part 1. Trigger warning, that's self-harmy. I'll put a jump thing down there. Song of the Pocket Knife, Part 1. I have a small silver friend that I keep with me always, in the pocket of my jeans or the waistband of my skirt. The lower left pocket on the outside of my backpack. My pocket knife is a very good friend. Small, silver, reliable, and unlike me, it always tells the truth. And sometimes, when there are too many insects, angry, alive, wriggling under my skin, I take my pocket knife and open up mouths on my skin to try to let them out. I love it. Oh. And this chapter is titled The Story of Soraya. Soraya is dead. Her body was found yesterday in a dumpster behind a hotel on Scarlet Avenue, just 1 block from the Street of Miracles. Rumor has it she was beaten to death with a bottle because tiny shards of glass were found embedded in her scalp and cracked skull. The police are refusing to release many details and announced to one news source that they have not yet ruled it a homicide, as if she might have happened to have fallen headfirst into a bottle 17 times or so. They will not investigate further. Why should they? A trans girl is found dead at least once every year in this city. I can hear some of their names filtering through the murmur of the crowd. Marlene, Lotta, Ilse. Names of women I never knew, but feel connected to in some terrible way. The news sends a ripple of anger and grief through the trans femmes of the city of smoke and lights. We gather in groups of 5, 10, even 20, cramming glamorous bodies into the tiny Femme Alliance building. Orange sparks fly through the air wherever our shoulders rub together. We can't just let the city bury this, says Rapunzel, shaking her braids. We have to stick together, femmes. We have to push back. The other girls murmur and nod in agreement. What can we do? Lucretia asks. The police won't do anything. We're nothing to them, remember? They couldn't care less if we live or die. For once, I agree with her. We have to get into the streets, Rapunzel says. Her face is feverish, and Kamaya puts a hand on her back. We have to demonstrate, Rapunzel continues. Show the mayor that we won't just sit quietly waiting for someone to kill us, too. Even if we have to go right into his backyard and yell into his bedroom. Valeria stands up, tall and imposing. Her bare scalp gleams like the moon. The mayor? She asks scornfully. The mayor and his pigs have always worked against us, not for us. Everyone knows that. If we want justice for Soraya, we'll have to take it ourselves. There's a murmuring amongst the girls. It will only hurt more to fight a battle that has already been lost, intones Zalzina the witch, from a shadowy corner. Avenging Soraya won't bring her back. This is the Street of Miracles. It was created when the first femme sacrificed herself. And when one of us dies, we continue her legacy. Soraya was killed so that the rest of us could live. I still think we should go to City Hall, Rapunzel begins to say, but she's interrupted by the other girls, all of whom are shouting now, trying to get heard. The conversation becomes more and more frenzied, as though the spirit of Soraya is whirling faster and faster among us, a tornado of fury and terror. Dizzy, I slip out of the door into the lantern-lit street. The air outside is perfumed as always, the light soft and the shadows intoxicating. Packs of people stroll by, laughing and talking and pawing at each other like animals in heat. Lust covers them like an iridescent film. I glance through the door of a club where huge men with oiled muscles are dancing on stage. More men wearing suits and ties of the business class of the city of smoke and lights are watching and clapping and throwing money into the air. I look down a set of stairs into another club, a basement, where people are dancing in costumes and masks and waving glowing amulets in the air. They are dressed as demons, princesses, punk rockers, mermaids, witches, leather daddies, schoolgirls in short skirts. None of them knows the story of Soraya, or even her name. I remember Alzina the witch's words. Soraya died so the rest of us can live. Could that be true? People come to the Street of Miracles to forget their sorrows. But we come here to give up our memories, our bodies, our whole selves. Trans girls flow through the street like blood in an artery, feeding the illusions, the miracles that everyone is so hungry for. Does the street shelter or sacrifice us? And what's the difference? Luminous green moths flutter around me, poetry whispering from their extravagantly tailed wings. I think of Soraya. I never got a chance to know her, really. I got here too late. She died too soon. She was a girl with light brown skin who wore calf-length boots and gorgeous, huge wings of green eyeshadow. She was quiet, smiled shyly at me whenever we ran into each other. I don't know if I would have ever spoken to her. If I would have cared enough to think about her half as much when she was alive as I do now that she's dead. Now that I can see my own body imprinted over the mental image of the corpse. Soraya's story. Why didn't I ask her before it was too late? Why wasn't I more curious, more interested, less self-absorbed? Do any of the girls on the street know Soraya's story? Or has it been lost to me? Lost to us all now? How many stories of trans girls have been lost here? Soraya's story. I invent the details to the sound of the moth's wing beats. She was born in a city far from here, to immigrant parents a little like mine. They were professor of literature and an engineer back in the old country, but by the time Soraya was born, they ran a tiny corner store in the middle of town that sold kebabs and lentil rice with lamb and egg yolks alongside the cigarettes and beer. They taught Soraya to pray every day of her life, and she never missed a single one, even when she came to the city where no one believes in God anymore. Every day, Soraya prayed that her family would still love her, even though she had left them and their hopes for her education to become a dancer in a bar where a strange man whooped and hollered at her. Later in the evening, paid her $300 for full body massage. Perhaps because she prayed, her family never stopped. Her father phoned her every Saturday afternoon, and they spoke for hours. Long-distance charges be damned. Her mother sent her care packages of lentil rice with lamb and egg yolks, and just the scent of saffron rising from the open container was enough to make Soraya weep. She liked fancy chocolates and was good at math. She wanted to be a fashion photographer someday. She was 27 years old when, during a slow month at the bar, she ignored her better judgment to say yes to a man who offered her $700 to come with him to a sketchy hotel instead of staying in one of the back rooms of the bar. Soraya considered herself lucky. With $700, she could make rent after all, put a few dollars away for her camera fund, send a gift to her mother in her final moments as he beat her to death. Soraya closed her eyes and prayed. This time, she asked God if he could see to it that her parents loved her a little less, so as to not mourn too much. She did not want them to suffer in their old age. As Soraya exhaled her final breath, a cloud of luminous green moths with eye-shaped patterns on their wings fluttered out of her mouth and nose. They hovered above the dumpster where her body had been abandoned, and then flew up and away, carrying the remainder of her spirit to the Street of Miracles, where sweaty college boys were grinding their hips against each other, and men threw money into the air as they temporarily forgot their wives. Feeling free at last from the burden of their everyday lives, the revelers of the endless party raised their arms toward the moon as the moths darted about, searching for someone to receive their story. No one slowed down, however, to listen to the whispering of their wings, or to remember Soraya's name. Not a single lantern was extinguished. No one stopped for even a moment. She was not the first trans girl to die here praying to God and thinking of home, and she would certainly not be the last. Alright, the final chapter I'm going to read for y'all is called The Legend of the Lipstick Lacerators. For once, the city lives in fear of us. We are creatures out of a suburban businessman's nightmare. Fierce femmes on a mission of vengeance. Trans girls out for blood. With rhinestoned brass knuckles and spike heels, we hit the streets and the men who think they own them. And girl, it is so fun! It begins in the alley behind the Dirtbag Hotel on Scarlet Avenue, where Soraya was murdered and her body dumped like a piece of trash. We wait for the first rich-looking suit and tie type in a rumpled coat to stumble out the back door, and we pounce. Valeria is the first, coming in fast and hard from the front. The guy barely has time to look up before her gloved fist hits his gut. I almost feel sorry for him. He doubles over, wheezing, and I move from the side, dropping into a sweeping kick that takes his legs out from under him. He hits the ground like a bag of cement, and the other girls lunge forward for the takedown. It's all over in a few seconds, and the guy is unconscious but breathing. Later, one wallet with $80 in it and a pair of leather wingtip shoes. Before we leave, Ivana pulls a can of spray paint out of her denim jacket. Gotta leave a souvenir, she says, smiling wickedly. She tags the alley with the stain left by a lipstick kiss. Over that, she writes in huge, looping cursive, "You mess with femmes, you mess with us." And we all shriek and applaud, and then we are running away into the endless night. Things are a blur after that. We become better at hunting, less sloppy and more thoughtful. Ying points out that we can't keep hitting places where trans girls work, because we'll scare the clients away, even the good ones. So instead we stalk the downtown core, in and around the Street of Miracles. Our targets are men, but not just any men. Not the ones who work on the street, the ones who are homeless, the ones who are known to be regulars and don't give anyone any trouble. We go for college boys, businessmen, tourists, nasty types who come here looking for a thrill. Sometimes, a femme will tip us off about a mean manager at work or a bad client or a landlord trying to screw her over, and we make a special plan for him. Sometimes, we set a trap by sending one of us as bait to lure out assholes who like to pick on trans girls. But most of the time, we stalk our prey, searching for the ones who are alone or who straggle, breaking away from packs of men that swagger through downtown, boisterously obnoxious and unafraid. We follow them into alleyways, parking lots, dark corners. There's no shortage of secluded places in the city of smoke and lights. Places where so many femmes have been beaten and died alone. This time, we are the hunters. A pride of lionesses on the prowl. Dressed in black and extravagant bedazzled dollar store masks, we ride the perfumed winds. We take cash, credit cards, watches, and jackets, cell phones and laptops. We leave bruises and fractured bones in our wake. All's fair in the war for survival, right? We split rich boy's skin over our knuckles, stomp creepy dude ass all over the pavement. Rapunzel has the idea that we should hit businesses too. Places on the streets where trans girls aren't allowed to go. So we break some restaurant windows and slit the owner's car tires. Everywhere we strike, we leave our tag, a pair of golden lips. We're sending the city a message, says Valeria, flushed with sweat and adrenaline. We're here, we're dangerous. Don't fuck with femmes. And at last, the city seems to see us in its fear. We are in headline after headline. We are the talk of the town. Transsexual menace comes to town. Transgender terrorism? Pleasure seekers beaten in pleasure district. Mugged by vigilante girl gang. My personal favorite is lipstick lacerators strike terror on the street of miracles. Ah, I love this book so much. Just trans women being able to get up and fight back and have the agency to go after their aggressors. It's magical. It's beautiful. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, yes. Y'all should read it. Do you have any more stories that you'd like me to read this Pride? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if it pleases and sparkles, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!